Okay, trust me, no one, nitrogen monoxide one, saw this coming. Not the producers of TLC. Not the members of the cast. Not the fans, nobody. Not even the fans had any inkling that this is what might be lurking beneath the surface of the reality TV world. That producers and fans think they know. But be prepared, because what I am about to tell you is something that has long been rumored, whispered, and left lingering behind in the corners of the deepest, most secretive fan sites, hidden away on long-deleted Instagram live videos and masked behind mysterious fan comments that somehow imply certain members of the cast might know what is going on. The story of Darcey Silva and Georgi Rusev is not just complicated, but potentially something far worse than we ever could have anticipated, specifically rumors. Rumors that have been building from behind the scenes long enough that something clearly stinks have long suggested that Darcey Silva is, active in the world of black magic because apparently she not only is, but she has allegedly, managed to get Georgi Rusev caught up in some sort of spiritual control and emotions games that he is apparently powerless to escape now. Before you roll your eyes, let's clarify. This isn't about candles and sage as you wait to roll your eyes. I want you to understand that it's about power, obsession, possibly the use of the supernatural to wield that power. Simply because otherwise you have to ask how the pattern occurs. Georgi has left hand come back, every single time. And each successive time, he's become increasingly passive, increasingly weak, increasingly defeated in the ranks. Fans had begun to notice, insiders had begun to leak. And what they've found is wild. The first red flag, a trusted Georgi friend from back in DC, spilled through a leaked DM and shared what Georgi once told him off camera, Darcey chanting and lighting things on fire. He shook it off. It could have just meant he was stressed out from work or something. But after Georgi went back to Darcey the third time, months after publicly shaming and telling her he was done and wouldn't contact her, the friend began piecing together what's going on and went, he's not himself, like he's walking through fog. And then there's the jewelry. Do you recall the secret bracelet that Georgi began sporting following their second reconciliation? It was rather discreet, but rumor has it that one of the Reddit sleuths was able to identify it as visually similar to a protection amulet from Eastern Europe. The irony, it was designed to bind the wearer emotionally when reversed or altered. Some viewers wondered if perhaps Darcey had given it to him for protection or to control him. And hey, let's keep it real for a second. Darcey's been all about big energy, crystals, affirmations, and manifestation. Yet this is somehow different, all in combination with her constant fixation on destiny, soul connections, and divine timing. But here comes the tea, folks. A confidential company whistleblower, a former employee in the Darcey and Stacey team, dished out the tea in a closed Facebook group. The anonymous source alleged Darcey ordered a spiritual cleansing spray before every shoot with Georgi, even carrying a red string wrapped around a black obsidian stone in her bag, all in the name of power. When asked about this incident, Darcey supposedly told the makeup artist, "I'm protecting what is mine. He is not leaving again, so you think this is just Darcey holding on to love? Well, just wait and see." Now, what has Georgi confessed in closed settings? It's disturbing. It begins to turn the whole situation on its head. Well, I think it's about time for us to take a breather and say this. If you all have felt like there was something amiss in this situation, trust me when I say you're right. Perhaps your insight would be the key to solving the puzzle in the comments below. Let's think about what's been happening on Darcey and Stacey in season 2 of the show. Georgi on the trip to Turkey seemed empty, unpresent, as if he were sedated. Viewers are pretty convinced of stress at the time of plastic surgery, culture shock, and a touch of jet lag. However, a production crew member from that season posted to a production assistant fan blogger about Georgi's behavior, and here's What's alleged? He hadn't been eating, he hadn't been sleeping. He'd been repeating dreams that wouldn't stop. The final point is the coup de grace. He'd asked for a new hotel room in the middle of filming because he felt energy pulling at him. This was never revealed on screen. Why, well, we do not know. But what is clear is that events are under a controlled narrative. But let's not forget what Darcey herself has said. In a now deleted live video, a tipsy Darcey slurred a few words. No one has picked up on yet. He's mine. I marked him in the stars. He can't leave even if he wanted to. Go back and watch it. It gives chills now, and this is where everything starts to unravel in ways you can't unsee. It's because just when it seemed like Georgi had had enough, he publicly challenged Darcey about her insecurities, reminded her that she had an obsession with plastic surgery, and let producers know that he is done with Darcey. He showed back up at Darcey's doorstep 3 months later. According to an insider, he blocked Darcey on all his social media sites. She reportedly sent him a box filled with unknown items. 3 days later, he had shown up in Connecticut. You think it's just love, sweetie. This ain't love, it's something else. So, let's get into the missing footage, the confrontation. The scene Darcey allegedly begged not to be shown. According to an anonymous assistant editor who worked on Darcey and Stacey, Season 3, an entire scene had been taken out. And it wasn't random. It was Georgi, with a flush of anger in his cheeks and shaking in his voice, confronting Darcey about thinking she could control him with spiritual threats. Well, now this is where it really begins to spin out of control. This clip, reportedly taken during their notorious stay in a New York hotel, reveals Georgi accusing Darcey of something he's discovered in her bags. But what? Details were not forthcoming from the editor. However, those involved in the show are on record as to the actual events. According to sources who assisted the beauty team, Georgi discovered a box, a real small box containing a lock of his hair, a dried rose petal, and a picture of the couple together that was wrapped in red twine. Georgi reportedly lost it. It was just a manifestation jar, Darcey allegedly claimed. Georgi didn't believe a word of it. I feel cursed, he told producers. I feel I'm not in control of my own actions. What did not make it to air? Damage control. Darcey, who is very connected to production and has a lot of power in terms of her own storylines, supposedly demanded it be removed. She said it made her look unstable and witchy and threatened to quit the show. TLC did not want to see another reality star walk and compromised. The clips are still out there. That's right, and what happened in that confrontation? That was just the tip of the iceberg in what turned out to be a horrific escalation of their strange relationship. Shortly after that trip to New York, though, Georgi began showing signs of withdrawal, not from Darcey, from reality. His friends reported that he began distancing himself, stopping his posting, and even ghosting his relatives. One thing is for sure, though, at least according to a source connected to his cousin living in Sofia, he told someone that he was suffering from sleep paralysis attacks, which always had Darcey loom over him in his sleep-paralyzed state, repeating the phrase, "You can't leave me, you're bound to me." The situation gets from complicated to worrying at this point. And listen, trust me, if you're sitting there watching like, this is completely unreal, there's no way this happened, I don't blame you. But for people who have had maybe a gut instinct about them in terms of the way they acted in scenes, like there was something that didn't quite compute, this is what your instinct is telling you. And then, bang! Next twist, Georgi's ex-wife chimes in on the conversation. That is correct. Not many fans of Georgi and Darcey are aware, but Georgi was married once in the past. His ex-wife, according to some leaked messages in a fan group, claims that Georgi said, "I've seen this before, not this extreme, but manipulation as love." Notice that his ex never stood up and accused Darcey by her full name, but she said it all happened at the same time. And this is where you need to prepare yourself, because it is revealed that it is no less than a person. From Darcey's past, a past friend who has broken her silence on TikTok under a pseudonym, claiming that Darcey has always been like this all along. Her exact words: "She doesn't think love is real unless it hurts, unless she owns you." Let that sink in. We're now looking at a pattern: emotional dominance, spiritual components which recur, possessiveness disguised as passion. Emotional dominance, eyes, and yet Georgi keeps coming back over and over. Why? As if there's not enough going on, there's been something that Darcey has been threatening him with, and we have managed to get hold of the leak which could hold all the answers. It's a voicemail, apparently sent from Darcey to Georgi at 3:14 a.m., somewhere within one of their off cycles. The recording hasn't been made public, but I've managed to hear a transcription of it. Darcey is crying, slurring her words. "You said you'd protect me forever. If you leave me, you'll regret it. I swear you'll feel it in your soul. Then don't forget what I know, what I have, what she has." What is that even supposed to mean? Blackmail, secrets, something from his past. Here's the part where you have to ask yourself, how far is too far for love? Or is this not love at all, but obsession in its purest and most insane form? And if you're as shook as I am right now, just take a breath and pause for a second. Trust me. And I have to say this: if you've ever known anyone in your life who has used manipulation of emotions instead of love and fear instead of that, the mere idea of this story might be hitting a little too close. And now, the cliffhanger you didn't see coming. Because someone just came forward who claims that they were hired by Darcey not for glam or styling, but cleaning or cleansing. A spiritual worker who claims that they were brought on by Darcey herself, and that they left with a warning: she wanted to bind a man's heart, they said. But some hearts aren't meant to be controlled. When you try, it always turns to rot. What Darcey did next, it set off a chain of events that swept through their engagement, brought down the Silva twins' empire, and left Georgi shaken to his core. All of it, the money too, the secret accounts, the deceits, and what Georgi was going to expose unless Darcey set him free. If the talk of black magic and emotional manipulation was the height of this story, no, not by a long shot. Once Georgi managed to muster the courage to part ways from Darcey once and for all, the dark forces closed ranks. Darcey, on the other hand, Darcey, who could have been crying, cowed. Apparently, it's only days after Georgi went cold on Darcey that she reached out to a person no one could have predicted. A person Georgi trusted, a person he confided in, a person who knew all about Georgi and Darcey's toxic situation. Darcey called Florian. Yes, Stacey's husband, Georgi's bro, Georgi's confidant, the only person in the show who had access to both worlds. Had he shown loyalty to Georgi and maintained a safe distance, he would have been okay. However, he flipped. Insiders claim Darcey offered something he couldn't refuse: exposure, money, power within the Silva brand. And Florian, he sold out Georgi. It began with a prank text message chain that was screenshot from a burned number. That seems to depict Florian replying to underscore texts from Georgi's direct messages, with pictures of said direct messages. Yes, private direct messages to his pals, to women he was corresponding with in confidence. The better to wound Georgi with a poison needle of abandonment, and then came the next level. Do you remember that strange plotline in season 4? Where Darcey began crying about trust and secrets that Georgi had been hiding from her in the relationship? Far from random, it was sparked by Florian handing Darcey access to Georgi's emails. An anonymous member from the production staff revealed that Florian snuck into Georgi's laptop computer after he stayed with them and resent the emails to Darcey. These emails, it was chats between Georgi and a woman in Florida. He'd had a fleeting thing with her before Darcey, but there was definitely this implication in the emails. It was something going on at the time. Darcey lost her temper. "I told the producers I'd been spiritually violated," Nina told them. I asked them to begin filming. They were holding out for a continuation of the reality show they were filming. And what we saw on television, Nina asked, was a sanitized version of what occurred. But here's where it gets ugly, according to sources. Darcey attempted to guilt-trip Georgi into a return with screenshots, voicemails, even a fictional leak on a gossip website about Georgi being engaged in inappropriate communication while engaged. This was removed within 48 hours, but the damage was done, causing Georgi considerable problems in relation to modeling engagements. Among his most extensive contracts, which involved appearing in an underwater campaign in Miami, he got dropped unceremoniously with no explanation at all. He learned through a stylist on set that their client said he had some reputation issues. But here's the catch: this stylist used to work at House of 11. That's the brand of the Silva twins. Tell me, do you see what I see? Darcey has allegedly staged a professional sabotage. And yet she repeated that she loved him. She cried on Instagram live sessions. She posted cryptic messages on her socials that read, "True love never leaves, if it does. It was never yours." However, what was happening behind the scenes? She was torching his life. And Georgi, he was spiraling a recording of one of his friends. Reveals, "I don't know who I am anymore. Every time I try to move forward, she's there. Watching, waiting, pulling me back." That's not romance. That's psychological warfare. And the thing that gets me is that Darcey packaged all of this stuff as empowerment. She said, "I am a queen. Nobody can control me." Meanwhile, in the background, she is making use of all his vulnerability. It was never about love. It was always about domination. And this is the point in the video where I've got to break character and say, if you're watching this video and you've ever had someone betray your trust in order to use it against you, and you've ever opened your heart to someone and they've used that against you, well, this story may be Darcey and Georgi's. But sabotaging other people with a healthy dose of fake love is not exactly a novel tactic now. Here's where we hit the mid-season twist that no one saw coming. There was a video clip leaked on a small 90-day T page, which only had a total of 2,000 followers. The video was recorded somewhere in Connecticut inside a darkened lounge. The video is grainy and features muffled audio, but what comes across is clear. Darcey screaming, "I told you not to cross me. You signed the paper." Georgi speaking calmly, yet firmly, "You said it was for the visa. You never said it was binding. It is binding. Spiritually, you'll never be free." Darcey, and then silence. "Let me say that again. He signed something, and she said it was spiritually binding." The kind of document they were is something we still don't know. A contract, perhaps, or a ritual vow, or something else entirely, but this is what followed when the video came out. Georgi had disabled all of his accounts. Darcey posted a picture of herself posing in white lace with the warning, "Some soul ties don't break, they just tighten. You tell me if that sounds healthy," I said. And the tea just keeps pouring. A former assistant of the Silva twins, who had parted ways on bad terms, even messaged a blogger saying Darcey had once paid someone to cast a return spell on Georgi. And what, you may ask, is the backup plan when one's manipulations don't go as planned? Oh, she just turned to blood magic. Of course, I wish I was joking. But hey, and listen, I'm not here to lecture you on what to believe. Maybe Darcey is just heartbroken. Maybe Georgi isn't so innocent either. But this is no longer about a relationship. This is spiritual obsession, manipulation, and a full-blown war masked behind designer frames and glamorous filters. And then comes the next betrayal. It comes from Georgi himself, because finally, after months of no response, he's fighting backlets. Get one thing clear here, at this point in the story, we are no longer observing a breakup. We are observing a full-blown psychological breakdown, masquerading as a reality TV relationship show. Now, Georgi has finally broken the silence after being humiliated, dragged, manipulated behind the scenes, and allegedly spiritually bonded to a relationship he no longer wanted. He, Georgi, is fighting back. Now, by fighting back, I mean he's got receipts, audio recordings, messages, voice notes, and what's supposedly in them will turn the whole script around. Sources close to a small podcast in Bulgaria reported that Georgi recently told a friend that he has an excess of 40 recorded voice messages from Darcey, not sweet, not romantic, no. The discussions apparently consist of emotional rants, threatening monologues, and, in one instance, make specific complaints about using a spiritual practitioner to retain Georgi's interest. Here's a supposed quote from one of the voice messages. "You think you can just leave me? I have energy on you, Georgi. That doesn't fade just because you block me." Another one, and darker, "We are bound by karma. If you shatter that, you will see, you will feel. And it won't be you, not just you. That's what scares me." Who else is she talking about? His family, future partners? Hers? Well, this is where things start to get out of control for Georgi, according to the host of this podcast. A friend told Georgi to lawyer up, not because of defamation, but because of spiritual harassment. It's true. Psychological abuse related to spiritual coercion may be considered a violation of the law in certain international settings, but Georgi had second thoughts. Why, because of one secret Darcey has in her favor, the one thing that kept him holding on for so long. It wasn't love, it wasn't loyalty, and it wasn't the show. It was money, more specifically. An off-camera financial deal that Darcey allegedly set up immediately after season 2. Various whispers, including that of an unnamed former intern at House of 11, claim Darcey offered Georgi a personal, monthly paycheck, not TLC money, says this urgent whisper. Her money, says this whisper. Cash, says this whisper. Wire transfers, says this whisper. Come across well in photographs, attend press conferences, shoot scenes in which she looked good, and, of course, act like you were still in love with her. According to insiders, Georgi was trapped. Georgi wanted out. Georgi made an attempt. Darcey supposedly said, "If you leave, the money stops, the protection stops, the secrets come out." A woman named Sabrina, not her real name, of course, who worked hand in glove with the Silva twins styling and PR clique for well over 2 years. Not only did she work hand in glove with the twin styling and PR representatives, she wasn't just a stylist, she knew them well enough to be an intimate part of their world. Leaked messages indicate she was one of the only people Georgi ever let in on the action, on what was really going on behind the scenes. But then, when Georgi finally broke down, when he finally acknowledged what he feared, that he felt emotionally controlled and spiritually trapped, Sabrina encouraged him to begin documenting everything. She taught him how to save voicemails, assisted him in discovering what he believed to be the ritualistic objects of choice that Darcey secretly kept hidden inside her walk-in closet. But more importantly, she encouraged him to cover his bases should the woman turn on him. But here's where the story gets dangerous. Because if Darcey realized that a member of her own camp had betrayed her, she went full scorched earth. Sabrina told a small fan-run podcast that she received a cease and desist notice just 2 days after she had a talk with Darcey about the way the latter was acting around Georgi. This was for defamation, breaches of confidentiality, and interference in personal and spiritual affairs. Yes, what you overheard was right, spiritual matters. According to allegations, there was a clause in Darcey's beauty team contracts that prohibited them from talking about ritualistic practices, manifestation objects, or metaphysical belief practices observed in private situations. Let that sink in. She was that paranoid and attuned to optics that she had a spiritual NDA included within the terms of all her beauty contracts, and when that didn't scare Sabrina into silence, oh no, Darcey took it once is believed to have shared screenshots of a private conversation between Sabrina and Georgi, making it seem as if Sabrina and Georgi had been flirty, attempting to sway public opinion to make Georgi seem as if he was the manipulator. After that came the Instagram Live. It was aired for 5 minutes, but dozens of fans recorded it. In the live, Darcey is agitated, pacing, rambling, and eventually, without warning, she drops the bombshell words, "I don't care what he says. We were tied, spiritually. He knows this. I know this. This is not how this works. This is not how the binding." Yes, she said binding. The second she realized what came out, she froze, stopped the stream, deleted the post. But the problem was already solved. Reddit went nuts, TikTok went nuclear. Hashtag binding spell appeared on fan pages as a trending topic. Rumors were no longer rumors. It was all been confirmed by Darcey, whether it was symbolic or literal. She admitted to spiritually binding Georgi. And now the backlash is boiling. Stacey, even her own twin sister, is reportedly keeping her distance from all the brouhaha. Stacey reportedly refuses to attend joint press conferences, is deeply upset about the allegations, and had a complete meltdown filming the show, yelling to nobody in particular, "I told her to stop. I told her this would blow up." The two sisters, who had once been inseparable, are now walking on opposite sides of a burning bridge. And what about Georgi? Quiet to quiet, that is why we know something is coming. But as you remember those 40 recordings, word is that a controlled release is in preparation by Georgi's team. A trickle of truth, one file a day, each succeeding file more incriminating than the last. The objective, not revenge, exposure. He wants people to realize what he went through, Mr. Auerbach says. To realize the psychological pain of being in a relationship in which leaving meant, well, it was like dying. And there's something else. In a private message Sabrina wrote, that Georgi had told her there was a last bit of evidence he had not yet revealed. Something that would change everything. How we see Darcey, but also, in fact, the whole of the 90 Day Fiancé franchise. As apparently, there is a contract involved. It is dated, stamped, and supposedly even co-signed by one of the show, a relationship contract that stipulated the Timmings for the breakup, the Timmings for the reunion, the Timmings for crying, and the Timmings for posting on social media. And what did she request, allegedly, in that contract? That Georgi pretend to marry her again even when the relationship is over. That's why he returned. That's why he remained. He had the contract and the moral obligation to deliver on the one thing, love, for the cameras, for the brand, for deception. And if this document leaks, it'll reveal not just Darcey, but producers. Judith explained, it'll confirm all the conspiracies the fans have been whispering about all these years. Simon clarified if Darcey learns about going public. As Sabrina warned us, she won't go down without a war. Thus, the following question arises: who will be the first to drop the bomb, Georgi with the contract, or Darcey with the final desperate lie because someone's about to lose everything? We've finally come to the end of the line, to the spot where the train, if not derailed yet, is certainly going off the rails before the eyes of the world. See? Because what began as a kind of reality romance between Darcey Silva and Georgi is now something much, much more sinister. It's not heartbreak or betrayal here that's unfolding, it's the complete and utter shredding of an illusion that was presented before us in sparkling diamonds and engagement rings and filters. It is all falling apart now. It's because the contract Georgi had in his possession, yes, that one. The so-called relationship agreement, it's late one night. An encrypted PDF file was shared on an international 90 Day fan Discord server, run by international 90 Day fans in secret. It could not be verified whose original it was. But the metadata tracked down a legal team associated with Darcey's former business manager. And in it, an entire two-page agreement, Darcey's signature. Georgi's signature, and a third name-aligned producer from TLC, the document establishes, to their editor's astonishment, the manner in which the relationship is to be presented during the filming. Important dates for reconciliation, emotional journeys planned. Talking points, social media coordination strategies. And then, at the bottom, under contingencies. One single line, subject agrees to keep spiritual connection rituals if requested. What does that mean? Nobody really knows for sure. But the fact that Darcey used the word binding, her rituals that her former assistant reported, the obsessions from the dream state that Georgi reported, is it all connected to that? Control masquerading as love. But now, that control begins to disintegrate, given that in the period following the leak of the contract, Darcey went out and did what we could have all known to expect, which was simply to vanish. We find there will be no Instagram posts, stories, or TikToks. And certainly there for the woman who has made her fame by being visible. Darcey going very quiet is an indication that something has broken inside that house of cards, and yet she didn't completely disappear, because just yesterday, a new TikTok burner account appeared at Twin Flame Betrayal, and although it has not put out a video, fans believe that it is no doubt associated with Darcey, because the bio on the account reads, "I manifested love and got betrayed. Don't cross me." And in fact, the story follows only one person, Georgi. Nobody is now. Here's where everything looks like it's going to go one final. Devastating whistleblower Sabrina got the anonymous tip. It came by email from no address. No signature, no name, but there was a picture inside. Photo of Georgi in front of a courthouse in New York with a woman, and not just any woman. A woman with long, blonde hair, thick makeup, designer bag. The first impression was, of course, of Darcey. But it wasn't. It was her cousin. And here's the punchline. Fans have already seen her in the background of a barbecue scene, with the Silva family, quiet, with a smile. Apparently inconsequential. However, she is in the middle of it all in this final betrayal. Which is why, according to a voice note that Georgi supposedly sent his friend, he didn't fall for Darcey's cousin just recently either. This happened a few months ago during one of his off cycles with Darcey. And the reason he never spoke out about this? It's because Darcey apparently learned it and used it to her advantage. She told him if he had ever been to share his experience, to reveal his secrets, to reveal his manipulation, to reveal the contract, he would share pictures of him and his cousin, and he's a family predator. That was the trump card. That was the threat. But now that the contract is out, and the public is turning against Darcey, and her brand is crashing, Georgi just doesn't care. He is moving on. In fact, rumors are circulating that he's pitching a tell-all doc. It is not even about Darcey, but about TLC in general, and the whole manufactured pandemonium in 90 Day Fiancé. And Darcey? Apparently, she is lawyering up once more to sue Georgi for character assassination and spiritual defamation. Yes, spiritual defamation. You cannot make this stuff up. But here's what's even weirder. While all this is going on where brand deals are imploding, public support is dwindling, and Stacey is even scaling back. Darcey has posted only one thing, a black screen. Using white letters, some bonds are never broken, they're cursed, and that was how she left it. So, the question is, what happens next? Will Georgi ever be able to live his life freely? Hasn't Darcey realized how far she can push a man to regain what she wants? Imogen, Potter, control? Will the docu-series ever be shown? Will TLC stash it on the shelf, just as they did that explosive exchange footage? And what about the cousin, the final betrayal? Is she in love, or is she just another player in Darcey's karmic game? Because if there is one thing that this series of events has taught us, it is that within Darcey's world, nothing ever is as it seems. Not love, not loyalty, not even reality. But if this is what it is to be in love and to be messed about, and it seems to be quite a roller coaster, and if this is what Tennyson is about, But if this is what love is like, you're not alone, since reality TV isn't all scripted either. It is conjured.